Hi, this is Marlo Balmanno, the producer of Latter-day Left. This week, our father and son duo, Alain and Cris Balmanno, sit down to discuss the Utah legislature, the loss of American influence, the tragedy in New Zealand, the college admissions scandal, and much, much more. Remember, if you like our podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or on podbean.com. Now, on to the show.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Latter-day Left. I'm Chris.
I'm Alan. And one day we're going to get that reversed, and then people will be really confused.
I don't even think you'd know how to start.
Welcome to Latter-day Left. I'm Chris.
No, you're not. You're Alan. See? You got it wrong already. You already got it wrong. So, all right. Lot to talk about. We're going to jump in with a listener comment.
I love listener comments.
That was sent to us via Facebook.
Well, there's like 2 listener comments.
There is?
Yes.
That's just the one I know of.
Well, there's yours, and then there's the one about my car.
Oh, yes, there's 2. So we're going to start. Nick, our friend Nick from Arizona, I believe, sent us a comment. He says, "My family is conservative. He said, I'm writing this today when I've read that Mr. Trump was going to veto the Senate vote. I need someone to vent to, so I'm sending it to you. I'm fearful of posting online for all the hate mail trolling I've received with their posts." What he says is, you guys, and he's referencing the Senate, the House and the Senate voting to
correct
stop the national emergency that Trump declared. And then, so he says, you guys, our founding fathers built a system of checks and balances in authorizing the Constitution of the United States of America. Our democracy exists because of our bipartisan and mutual respect for that system, for that document, and for their sanctity. Regardless of what your position is on immigration or a border wall, declaring a national emergency is an overreach of presidential power. It sets a precedent of disrespect and disregard for that system among the highest levels of government. To think that 23% of his own party would vote against his overstep, and that he would immediately, without contemplating that significance, that he would tweet veto, is disconcerting. Mr. President, at least act like you thought about it. At least give some semblance of caring about the documents and system I hold sacred. I look forward to listening and hearing what you guys have to say about it. It's good to know I'm not alone.
Well, good. First of all, thank you for using us to blow our steam and to vent, because that's what we exist. That's one of the reasons we exist. So that people can talk about these things.
I thought it was so that we could vent and then,
Well, but it's only fair to let other people
let off steam. But, first, he's right. We talked about it. It was massive overreach. The fact that as soon as the vote was done, he took to Twitter and just tweeted veto. By the way, he knows that doesn't veto the bill, right?
No, he's already said vetoed it.
He has, but he knows that that's not what vetoed it, right? I just want to make sure that somebody explained that to him. It reminds me of The Office and Michael Scott. He got into, so you gotta bear with me a minute.
Okay. On
The Office, it was a TV show.
Yes,
the boss, Michael Scott, was in some financial trouble and was told you probably need to declare bankruptcy. So he walked out into the office and yelled, "I declare bankruptcy." And someone said, "I think there's a little more to it than that." It reminds me of that. Okay. He just tweeted veto, and someone probably needed to explain to him, there's a little more to it than that.
Yeah, they got around to doing it. So here's the tantalizing thing, if you will. The vote in the Senate to overturn the declaration of emergency was 59 in favor. Where is that 60th vote?
There was a 13th Republican who wanted to vote against it, and McConnell went to him and said, "You will not get it to 60. You will not get it to 60."
That 60th vote would override the veto.
It needs to get to 66, right? You need 2/3.
You need 2/3.
So it would have had to get to 66. Okay, fine. So you needed 7.
Yes, that's true.
You need 60 to
60 to close
the filibuster.
Yeah, to close the filibuster.
Yeah. So you need 66 to override the veto.
That's true. Well, so here's the thing.
But if it had come down to 1, McConnell's going to go, "We have enough. Don't you dare give them that."
So here's my answer. Here's my answer to is it Chris you said?
Nick.
It's Nick.
I'm Chris.
Oh, hi. How you doing? I'm Alan.
Good.
So Nick, I think you're correct that we have a structure of checks and balances. And we have a structure that says that the Senate and the House can pass bills, that the president can veto them, and for political purposes, it really doesn't matter if he vetoes it in front of a whole bunch of people, or if he does it behind closed door and just tweets out, veto, as long as he actually puts the veto stamp on it. It's done. So you're right that there is that sort of balance. It's interesting that oftentimes presidents will not want to veto too many things. And this is only his first veto, because this is the first time that the Democrats have had enough sway on something to force him into a veto. What it does do...
Can I derail you for a second there?
Yeah.
If the Democrats didn't control the House, would we even be talking about this?
No.
Would the Congress have said, yeah, you're overreaching?
No. If the House was still in Republican hands, they would have been crickets. They wouldn't have said anything. Privately, they might have grumbled, but they would not have said anything. So it's important, as we see now, that the Democrats control one of the houses of Congress. And to the extent that the system has worked the way it's supposed to work. What it does, it sets up some unfinished business. But I think the founders understood that. The founders understood that if the both houses of Congress couldn't come up with a veto override, then the president ought to win on this particular check and balance. Now, Nick's comment that, well, at least make it look like he thought about it. This is a president that doesn't think about anything.
I was going to say, that'd be a first. If he'd acted like he thought about it, that'd be a first. Everything with this guy is reactionary and it's inflammatory. There's no measured response. There's no reason. No. There's no, let me talk to my people and get feedback and I'll get back to you.
And what that tells you when you see that they can't override the veto is that there isn't enough anger yet. There isn't enough rage at what this president's doing. And what I'm going to go back to is something from the Nixon era, when the Congress passed a bill which is by all measures unconstitutional, the War Powers Resolution, which President Nixon vetoed because he said, my lawyers tell me 90% of this is unconstitutional. And he's probably right. And then the Congress that was so angry at Nixon easily overrode the veto. And now we have on the books this War Power Resolution, which while people may think is a good idea, is in certain measures absolutely unconstitutional. It's never been tested because the presidents, for political reasons, don't want to test it. And so they say, well, what I'm doing is I'm in keeping with the War Powers Resolution, I voluntarily do this rather than saying I'm doing this because I have to.
Right.
But
it's interesting that you brought up Nixon, because it was during the Nixon administration that the current law that allowed the national emergency to be declared by Trump was passed.
To the extent that what we saw this week is the system in action. Again, it shows that the founders understood that some of this stuff would be undefined. And so the fair question is, well, then how do we deal with it? How did they anticipate dealing with something that's undefined? And Justice Jackson of the Supreme Court said it best when he explained in the case that discussed the competing powers of the executive branch and the legislative branch. He said, for some things, it will be the political winds and the sway of the voters. Ultimately, if enough people get angry at this sort of thing, then you hope that there will be some resolution at the ballot box.
Here's the thing. The problem with that is the founders were, some will say, reasonable men who could disagree without being disagreeable.
Perhaps.
And probably Justice Jackson had the same kind of high-minded thought. Does not adequately explain our current political arena that is the mud bath and the... Here's the thing. The Trump supporters won't complain to their congressmen because they want the wall. They like the idea of blocking out the brown people from the South and
they like that he's kicking.
That he's yelling and screaming and being the way he is. Had President Obama said, I'm declaring a national emergency around healthcare, or I'm declaring a national emergency about guns, they'd have been up in arms, and the Democrats would have been like, no, let him do it. I mean,
it's true.
There's no...
We all root for our tribe.
Yeah, it's...
At this point, we all root for our tribe. Very interesting, somebody said to me this week, and it's somebody that we've had on the podcast once before. She said, the first thing we need to do is to stop cheering for our tribe when they're wrong.
Yeah, but then you have to convince them that they're wrong. You have to convince the people that are doing the cheering that exactly their tribe is wrong, and they think that they're right. And so, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago about how often people think that they're right versus
absolutely.
You can't.
To the extent that what we saw this week was actually the system working to some degree.
I think it's telling.
Because one of the things that it does do is it does put on record the fact that the other branch of government was opposed to this.
Yeah.
It does.
I think it's somewhat telling that the Utah delegation were among the 12 that voted with the Democrats.
Yeah, I think I get confused every time you people say the 12. I think you're talking about the quorum of...
Well, because there were 12 Republicans that voted with the Democrats to defeat in the Senate. And so both Lee and Romney said, hey, this is bad, not because, we agree or disagree with the wall or whatever. This is overreach that this law was never meant to provide.
Exactly.
This is not a national emergency. We can't allow this stuff. And some of the Republicans were doing that because they don't want a Democrat using the same thing later when the Democrats were in the White House saying health care and guns and other stuff.
But it is in many ways an unresolved issue, as many disputes between the executive branch and the legislative branch end up unresolved.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
So the other.
So thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thank you, Nick, and we appreciate that you think of us and that.
And you can think of us as a safe space so you don't have to post it online and get yelled at by your family.
We agree with you. The other one we had was...
There was a comment.
From Philippe.
So we put something on our Facebook page about Utah air quality and
one of the
because sometimes the producer will put stuff on the Facebook page that we haven't talked about, but it's stuff that is of interest, and it keeps
of interest to the people that listen to us. And so the comment was that I should sell my Mercedes and buy a Tesla.
Yes, because you're in Utah and you drive a Mercedes that drinks gas instead of.
Indeed, I do. And I'm kind of waiting for the electric. But here's my problem. I don't drive it all that much. I take the public transport as
you take tracks often.
4 out of 5 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week. And my problem is this: the car that I drive is the car that we use to go from here to San Diego and
to visit family.
To visit family, and now if I were to turn it in for an electric car, the problem with that is that I can only go from here to Cedar City, and then I need 4 hours to recharge. And then I can go from Cedar City to Riverside, where I need 4 hours to recharge before I get to San Diego. I mean, ultimately, right now, electric cars don't do it as far as over-the-road, cross-country travel. Now, the hybrids do.
Because they still use gas.
But they use gas and some electric. But the electric cars aren't there yet. So make me an electric car that will take me from Salt Lake City to San Diego, and I'll trade in the Mercedes.
Tesla's working on that now. However, they can't. But what they do have are the supercharging stations. Where instead of 4 hours to charge your car, they can do it in 20 minutes.
Which be a lot better.
They can you get out, you stretch your legs, you get a bite to eat, you use the restroom, and 20 minutes later you're back on the road. So they do have it down to 20 minutes.
So, but if that,
But those supercharging stations are few and far between, and you've got like 2 or 3 of them in a location, and sometimes you got these jerks in their pickup trucks blocking them deliberately because I don't understand why, because
because if you're trying to do something good, then obviously they want to oppose it. And I think we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
But anyway, so that's why right now I'm not.
You know where a Tesla makes a lot of sense? New York City,
in
Chicago,
in town.
So
So our other car the car that your mother drives.
The other Mercedes.
She drives it around town. She drives it around town. That car, that second car, could be an electric car very easily.
Or even on, more East Coast where things,
closer
together. You come out west. I mean, you leave Salt Lake City, Boise's 6 hours, Colorado, Denver's 8. Vegas is
4.
Vegas is 5.5, 6. And I mean, really, those are the only directions you can go.
Well, you can go towards Reno, but that's 8 hours.
And then you're in Reno. So
what
have you done?
Look, if we have any listeners in Reno, we apologize.
If we have listeners in Reno,
I'd be surprised.
I'd be shocked.
But maybe we do.
I mean,
Let us know. If you're in Reno, we'll put you on the air and we'll give you an apology.
So you can go out. Yeah, you can go out west on I-80 to Reno.
But and then if you go east, my God.
So where are you going? There's nowhere. I mean,
yeah,
you're right. A Tesla, an electric vehicle. We say Tesla, but Nissan has a Leaf, and there's others.
Well, somebody in my office just bought a hybrid. Looks really good. It's I don't know.
But again, it's a hybrid. You're going to get 400 or 500 miles per tank of gas.
Right, but it's still gas.
Yeah. So the all electric vehicles, they're good for in town. You're not going on road trips with them.
Yeah,
so
that's
anyway.
correct. So I'm still waiting.
So that was the listener comments.
Yeah, those were the listener comments.
Speaking of Tesla, though,
yes,
announced this week the Model Y.
Why is what I want to know.
Why? Because they had to announce their next vehicle.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So they had the Model X. The Model Y has been announced.
Okay. And what does that do?
It's a car.
But it's a hatchback.
It's
a crossover vehicle, which Tesla never should have made.
The X is the crossover. This is more of it seats 7. It's a people mover. It's a people mover. But if you're driving, if you're a Uber or Lyft driver, or you're a cab,
yes.
or you are some kind of, to be able to put 7 people in a vehicle and not use gas.
Okay, that's.
Or you're doing a ride sharing program to work or a carpool or something.
Yeah, okay, fine. All right, I'll grant you that. Maybe it's the other one I didn't like.
The X. You didn't like the X.
I didn't like that. Didn't like the X.
Anyway.
So, but Tesla's still working on things. So hopefully they keep.
Look,
working.
they're only, they're going to figure stuff out.
I think they are. And I think other.
I'm waiting for that underground bullet train, the high speed underground to go from Vegas to LA in like an hour.
Oh my!
I am so waiting for that. I am so excited that if they, because they're digging the tunnels and they're working on it, and if they can get that sucker to work, I'm there.
Well, but you don't travel from LA to Vegas.
Well, it goes both ways. So I'll drive 5 hours to Vegas and then an hour to LA. I'm still in LA in 6.
But then what do?
Then go to the beach.
Go to San Diego.
Then you go to the beach.
Although if the bullet train works, then
they could expand it other places.
Here's
the problem with the underground high-speed pneumatic tube that they're building, okay?
Sure.
It's the West Coast. There's earthquakes. People are going to die, okay? They're going to trigger one, or one's going to just happen and it's going to collapse and crush everybody.
Exactly.
So, all right. Let's move on.
Okay, let's talk about... Did anything happen this week?
Nope, nothing. We're done.
Despite
the fact that we just talked about Trump and his veto and all that other stuff. So, you want to start big and work your way into Utah, or you want to start in Utah and work our way back out? Let's start in Utah. That way you can get the steam going.
Okay, well, I don't know.
The Utah legislature.
Oh, my gosh.
Your favorite.
Yeah, the clown car. Thank heavens they're done until they call themselves into session next month.
Until they call them, because now they can call themselves into
session.
And they'll do it like 8 or 9 times.
They will do it all the time now. Yeah.
Well, we forgot to approve a raise for ourselves, so let's call a special session.
Yeah, luckily they haven't done that so much, but they will keep calling themselves into session to screw with the people and the people's voice.
Well, speaking of screwing with the people and the people's voice, the Utah State Legislature.
That's right.
Yet again, proving they don't care about the people or the voters, passed 3 bills this week to make it harder or more intimidating to get initiatives.
More difficult.
Harder. To get initiatives on the ballot. So this year.
I see what you did there.
Harder or difficult. Yes.
English is tough language.
Well, for some. So this year we've talked about Prop 2 and Prop 3 and Prop 4,
Yeah.
which they haven't messed with Prop 4 yet.
Can I knock on wood?
Which that's going to be the special session.
Exactly.
They just ran out of time.
Yes, they did. They ran out of time.
Well, because they don't have to do it until next year.
Right.
Because Prop 4 is the fair boundaries, redistricting.
Anti-gerrymandering bill.
So they have until next year to mess with
Plenty of
that.
time to mess with that.
But you had these propositions, and we've talked about them. And
Yes, they've overruled them. So here's what they've done. One bill that passed, more difficult to implement, because what they said now is whenever the people pass an initiative, it will not take effect until 60 days after the next legislative session. So they've now built in for themselves the time to mess around.
Well, so think about that, because 60 days after the next legislative session. Now,
that could be almost a year. That could be 9 months.
Well,
because they vote in November.
They vote in November.
And it comes together.
They come in January, so it's not that long.
No, but after the session, 60 days after the session, so you end in March, April, May. So it's June.
You're June 1st.
So it's June 1st, so it's 9 months.
Because Prop 2 was supposed to start like December 1st.
December 1st, which was the problem. The governor had to call him into special session to override
before it came into
medicinal marijuana. So they had to. They were annoyed that they had to change their schedule to meet the voters' demands.
Yes. How dare they have to allow?
Who are these people who vote for us and then tell us what they want? So they've changed that.
So they've given themselves so they don't have to call themselves in a special session. No proposition or initiative will take effect until 60 days after the end of this legislative
session. Let me tell you something.
Oh, wait. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If they happen to call themselves into special session for whatever reason in December, that doesn't count. It has to be the next scheduled one. Oh, that's dumb.
Yeah. It's a regular session. It says regular session.
That's horrible.
In the law. So
that one doesn't. It bothers me, but not as much as the next one.
Yeah, but here's my response to this one. I want someone to run an initiative that says this: amends the Constitution of the state so that when an initiative is passed, it will go into effect and cannot be tweaked or changed by the legislature until the following election cycle to come. And what that would do is it would protect the people's voice. And then because then people could run and they would say, well, this isn't working, we need to change it. Or, I'm going to support this because the people have voted for it. So, but that would take a constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
So,
well, especially because they just changed it so they could mess with them earlier.
Yeah, but that's a statute, which is why I think we need to change the Utah Constitution. The second bill is the one that is, I think, very devious and very scary.
This is the one that bothers me more.
Yeah.
I don't like
this. This is the brown shirt bill. That's what I'm calling it, the brown shirt bill. It says that if
UPS drivers?
No. The pre
yes
the pre-Anschluss Wehrmacht Republic 1930 brown shirts.
Yes.
Which says the bill says that when people sign their name on a petition for an initiative, their name has to be published publicly within a certain period of time, and there is built in a 45-day or 14-day. There's built in a period of time during which the person who signed supporting the initiative can retract.
They can change their mind
after their information is publicized in the county in which they live. And this is nothing more than... Now,
it's intimidation.
They're calling it the transparency bill. But what this is brown shirt time. Oh, Alan voted for this initiative.
No, you just signed the petition to allow the initiative to be put on the ballot.
And now my neighbors who were against the initiative start harassing me until I change my mind. That's what this is. This is an invitation to lawlessness by the legislature.
Well, it's an invitation to intimidation.
Yes.
This is political intimidation. This is...
You know exactly what this is. This is bricks through the windows. Hey, you liberal commie stinker.
This is bricks through the windows, maybe not, but notes on your door, in your mailbox. This will be, this
depending upon the topic, depending upon the county, I can envision very, very more different things than just, oh, gee, we're not happy that you signed this initiative.
Oh, yeah, no.
I can see some things. I can see a lot worse things.
So
Punctured tires. I can see.
You're thinking like,
down fences.
Yeah.
I can see horses' heads in the driveway.
Whoa.
Or cows' heads.
Typically, they go in the bed.
In the bed, yeah.
Under the blanket. So,
but you don't do that.
Oh, it's a different movie.
This is Mormon town. You put the cow carcass on the driveway. I mean,
that's just an invitation to barbecue if you're in Texas.
Anyway,
yeah, no, that one. That one's scary.
And the whole thing of, oh, this is nothing but a transparency bill. Baloney, okay? This is intimidation built into the system. I mean, this is
another way for the legislature to tell the Utah people, stop putting initiatives on the ballot. We don't care what you think. We don't want it. We're wasting too much time on you and your noise.
Yep, that's exactly right.
And that's their attitude. They're wasting too much time on our noise and the things that we want.
And can you let me now put two of these bills together? The initiative, you have to have your name listed publicly if you sign it, and you have to give other people the opportunity to change your mind. Are you ready with the other bill? You don't see this coming. The other bill is they just strengthen the stand your ground law in Utah. Now I have signed an initiative, and my neighbors are coming over, and they're being a little pushy. They're not sitting by me at church, and they're calling me common names. In sacrament meeting or at the temple, and now one of them comes into my door, and maybe he's just, but hey, I've got to stand my ground bill that says that if I in fear, I can shoot first and ask questions later, because that's what they passed the law. So what are we doing now? Are we going to shoot it out at the OK Corral over whether my name stays in the initiative bill?
Ooh, that'd be fun. Not with real guns. Laser tag. Winner gets to decide what's on the ballot. I'm down for that. Okay. If we're gonna do something crazy, and this is Utah, and we do things that are crazy that make the news, the national news for all the wrong reasons. Let's do something like that. Okay. Yeah. Utah says Utah state law says you bring your 30 guys, I'll bring my 30 guys, and it's paintball. Last man standing gets to decide what's on the ballot.
Holy crap.
How fun would that be?
Some of these people would actually do it.
Here's the problem. Y'all got these militia guys up in the mountains who are like, we're ready. Let's go.
Ready, let's do this now.
We're ready. We start in 3, 2.
This is, these people have no vision for the society that they're creating.
We talked about it before. It's the disconnect. They don't see how what they've done in one area affects the other area. And we talked about it last week. How, Bill A and Bill B are going to interact. They're compartmentalizing. We are pro-gun. We're pro.
That's right.
This is the Wild West still. We're not in civilized Exactly. So it's self-defense and stand your ground. On the other hand, you can go to your neighbors and bully them and trying to get them to remove their name from the petition. From the petition. So they don't put 2 and 2 together and get 4. They put 1 and 1 together and get, apple pie.
Infinity? So
no, they put 1 and 1 together and get
So this is March, and we had March 14th this week.
Pie Day.
Well, Pie Day.
Pie Day.
So I saw.
We had pie. We had lots of pie.
Did you? We had pie. So I saw the very best formula for Pie Day.
Okay.
The square root of -2 is infinity, or how is it written in math? I.
Okay.
I. And then you had 2 to the cubed, which is 2 times 2 is 4.
Times
4
2
times 2 is 8.
Yeah.
So I, 8. And then you had the Greek letter sum.
Okay.
And then you had the symbol for pi.
So I ate some pie.
I ate some pie. I thought it was the best. It was the best formula I've seen.
We just had your granddaughter bake,
She bragged about that to me.
Cherry,
she bragged,
apple, and peach. And the peach had the crumble on top.
She bragged about making pies and then said, but you didn't get any.
Oh, they were good.
I mean, all I've got to say is...
They were good.
I feel as a grandpa that I have been violated.
That's between you and your granddaughter.
Oh, okay.
I got my pie.
You got pie.
Okay. So Pie Day.
So, okay,
was
Pie
good.
Day, but
Yeah.
somehow that was...
Anyway.
We were talking about the state legislature.
Do we have to anymore?
I mean, these guys...
We can be done with them, right? I mean, I'm done with them already, but...
Yeah, I'm done with them, except they're not done with us because, they didn't pass the budget. They passed a temporary budget. And
because they can't figure out...
Well,
so they want to put they want to increase the tax on food?
They see, which is really bad.
Let's make food more expensive and harder to get.
So let's see if I get this straight. They have passed a bill which ended an initiative, and their bill costs more money and covers less people on Medicaid.
Yes.
They have passed a bill which, again, ended an initiative which provides fewer people with lesser medical treatment of medical marijuana.
Yes.
And including people who, by golly, should really have it because of pains and seizures and stuff like that. And they just simply, should we go on? I mean, it is just inconceivable. Inconceivable. And maybe that word doesn't mean what I think.
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Because it's obvious that it is conceivable because they conceived of it and they did it. They pass bills without even knowing what the ramifications of what they're doing.
Right, which contradicts what you just said. Because if they conceived of it, it means they thought about it and it was preconceived and they thought about it, they thought it through and said, we are going to do this. I think your second statement is correct. They don't think about it, they react, and they don't think through what they're doing.
Yeah, or maybe they do. And
they just don't care.
That's
the worst. I would like to believe they're just reactionary.
I really think they think they're doing the right thing for the right reasons. By the way, one of the bills that they did pass is calling for a constitutional convention.
Yes.
Which, of course, as we've already talked about, if they get enough states to call for it, then we don't know what would happen. Because the last time we tried that, they rewrote the whole thing.
Because it opens the whole thing up.
Because, and they say, no, this won't happen. You got no guarantees that it won't happen. You get no guarantees of anything. And by the way, there's really a debate right now whether you have 34 of the 38 states that need to do it or whether you have 13. Because some states have passed it, some states have retracted it. Wait, are you allowed to retract this? Does that count?
Why wouldn't you be allowed to retract it?
Well, there's all kinds of debates. For example, when they were talking about passing the Equal Rights Amendment, some states...
Arizona still stubbornly refuses to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. Just last week. They still said, nope, not doing it.
No, we're not doing it. Well, I mean, frankly, at this point, it's not in play anymore because it had a deadline.
Well...
that one had a deadline.
But other states had done it symbolically to say, okay, we screwed up.
Right.
Like the states that still hadn't removed slavery from the books.
Hey, which Utah
finally did this time around.
Did not.
Well,
because it has to pass a constitutional vote by the people.
Right.
But they actually set it up so that at the next election.
But a lot of this is symbolic, but other states have done these things to say, hey, look, we recognize that,
is important.
40 years ago, our predecessors, or us, if they've been there long enough, screwed up and, okay, we're going to do this.
Symbolism is important, as we're about to find out in one of the next segments that we talk about.
Well, maybe.
Maybe. Well, at least one of them is.
Well, so Arizona still is saying, you know what? We don't care. Women don't count.
Yeah.
That was their message. That's the law, but we don't care.
That's true.
All right.
Wow.
Okay.
And we could have done more, but that's okay. That's enough for Utah.
Yeah. Let's move on.
What's next?
Tennessee.
The great state
I'm throwing a curveball at you.
Tennessee?
Yeah. We're gonna talk about it real quick. It's a feel-good story. We're gonna break up the bad stuff with a good thing. University of Tennessee. The Volunteers. And I'm not talking about how I'm going to go watch the BYU game at the University of Tennessee in September, which I am.
Okay.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Game.
Yes. But that's not what I'm talking
about. Football been very, very good to me.
Yes.
I like football. We don't got no football right now.
Not right now.
Okay.
Actually, we do. Salt Lake's got a new, that AAF league.
No, there's no football right now. Thank you very much.
The University of Tennessee announced this week free tuition for the low-income students. If you apply and get accepted to the school, but you cannot pay tuition. They will not make you take loans.
Hey,
free tuition.
Here's what's good about that. if your parents can bribe you in...
And you're jumping stories on me.
If your parents can bribe you in, then you don't get to pay tuition.
Wait, if your parents can bribe you in, I think you could pay the tuition. The University of Tennessee is following other universities that are saying, if you are below this income level, and I didn't look to see what the income level was, but they said low-income students need not take out student loans to go to school.
That is wonderful, by the way.
So
I applaud that.
As much as I would never actually attend the University of Tennessee because I don't look good in, nobody looks good in that color orange.
That burnt orange?
Yeah, that's awful.
Is it Rocky Top? Rocky Top, right? That's what they play at.
That's what. Yeah.
Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Rocky Top, Tennessee, but no tuition. If you are very low income, apply to Stanford.
Yes.
Stanford is no tuition.
That's a good school.
If you're below a certain income level. University of Tennessee. So University of Tennessee
I like that.
So apply there. There are a couple other universities. Do your research. If you are low income, keep your grades up. Do the best you can, and apply to these schools.
So I applaud the University of Tennessee, and right here I'm going to put a plug for the producer to start playing the Tennessee fight song. You don't have to play more than a bar of it, but let's see if she does it or she cuts this out.
Ooh, gross. Okay. Now we're going to get to what you just alluded to.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned it.
Yeah, you just straight up said it. The college admissions scandal that it broke this past week is wide-ranging,
and ludicrous.
Shocking in some degree.
And ludicrous.
Not shocking in other degrees. And ludicrous. Yes.
Because
so the I can't. It's so big.
It is. It was like 700.
To try and look, the tried and true method of getting your academically underachieving child into a prestigious university
is to give them money.
Is to donate a wing of the library, or put your name on a stadium or something.
But you don't even need to give that much money.
Or just give them,
give them a room. Give them like a conference room.
Yeah.
And
write a check, and then your kid can get in.
And your kid gets in as a legacy or something.
Right.
Why do you bribe a third person to do that?
So this took things to a whole new level.
Yes, it did.
This was. We're not gonna go through the whole thing. If you're interested, or if you haven't heard about it, there's plenty of articles and stuff you can go read or watch the news. But here's. Some people are saying, well, the parents should be punished, but the kids shouldn't. Some of the kids probably didn't know what was going on. I'm sorry. Can I call BS on that?
Well, the kids
didn't know. If you're a kid, if you're a high school,
fake pictures.
Well, if you're a high school student and you didn't take an SAT or an ACT, but yet you got a score, you knew something was up. If you got awarded an athletic scholarship and you've never played the sport, you knew something was up.
Exactly.
If you posed for pictures doing X and you've never done X in your
exactly,
you knew something was up.
Absolutely.
Okay, the kids knew. Now maybe some small percentage out of the 750, maybe like 4 kids didn't know their parents were like.
Those are kids that shouldn't go to college.
Well, some of these kids took the entrance exams, right, the ACT or the SAT, and then the parents bribed the proctors to correct the answers. So the kids probably didn't know. Some of the kids maybe didn't know that part. Maybe.
There was a telling social media posting by one of the kids saying, all I want to do is go there and party. I don't care about the classes.
Yeah, it's,
look, you don't need to go there to party.
Look, my favorite social media one was, why is this a surprise to anyone? You guys think George W. Bush got into Yale and, where'd he go? Yale and Harvard with a 2.3 GPA? On his own, on the merits? No, he didn't go on the merits.
No, we know.
But that was the old way of donating the money, and then your kid got in his legacy.
Exactly.
This took things to a whole new level. There was a girl who posed for pictures, was awarded an athletic scholarship, and was put in the school's publication as being the 20th ranked tennis player in the nation. She had never picked up a racket before the pictures were taken.
How stupid is all that?
She had to know something was wrong.
So here's the thing. We pick on the Republicans, the conservatives, for attacking educational institutions, for attacking the higher ed. These are Republicans.
We pick on the Republicans for picking on being educated.
Right. This isn't the Republicans. This isn't people who don't believe in education. This is...
Well, the kid who just wants to party and doesn't care about classes doesn't believe in education.
She doesn't, but her parents, these are liberal Hollywood elites.
Yeah, so they keep saying, "Oh, it's the Hollywood college admissions scandal."
That's the people who've been...
Well, because those are the famous names. You got 4 or 5 of them out of 750.
Right.
So
we don't know who the other ones are.
They were just normal...
They haven't named them.
Normal rich people?
Normal
Can you
rich
say
people?
that?
No, object.
Can you say normal rich people?
Well, maybe there is a normal for rich people. And it's
So these guys made a whole cottage industry out of cheating,
right,
and being the third party to get the kids into colleges.
I don't know. To me, this is another rock thrown at the idea of intellectualism and intelligence.
So now
being
and now they're talking about the parents and some of the kids even facing criminal charges for money laundering, breaking, federal laws against racketeering, wire transfers, and bank fraud, and all this other stuff.
This is how you take down Al Capone. It's
because he didn't pay his taxes.
Because he didn't pay his taxes. This is how you take this down. You don't take it down because it's they did something immoral. You take it down because of the laws they broke.
Yeah,
and the laws they broke are rather mundane. Compared to the higher ideals that we ought to believe that people should get an education, that people should want to be educated, and that education is a way to move up in our society.
So this topic actually came up. I've been working church basketball, helping one of my callings is stake sports specialist. So I've been working, and this morning we had regionals at our stake center, and I'm helping work the table and the book and the scoreboard and stuff. And we're at the table, and it's the high councilman who's in charge of the sports program, and me and another guy. And the game's going on, and we're talking during the game and during timeouts and half times and stuff. And this topic came up. And the high councilman said, this is a big deal and it's bad. Whatever happened to that North Carolina, they made up fake classes for the basketball players? It just kind of went away. Nothing ever happened. No one got punished. University of North Carolina is still getting to play basketball games. What happened? I said, North Carolina, there's too much money and the NCAA would never let them not make the tournament. Are you kidding? Yeah. It's all about, what's good for what's good for whom. And so this scandal, while shocking, it may just fizzle out and some stuff may not happen. They're talking big. Everyone's going to jail and there's, federal indictments coming.
Well,
some of this may just go away.
There will be federal indictments, I believe. But I also believe that we're talking about white-collar crimes with rich people and white people.
There's going to be some plea deals.
It's going to be some 40 hours of communities. You will have to go and lecture on why it is bad to cheat. And
at the school that you helped your kid get.
It'll be those kinds of penalties.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing jail time.
No one's going to prison.
Nobody's going to prison.
And some of this stuff may just fizzle away and just kind of die on the vine, and you won't.
The kids won't be admitted, or the kids
they won't go back.
The admission will be rescinded.
Yeah.
And then if the kid wants an education, he or she will go to the community college and earn it,
and then transfer to some other school.
School. But that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things where it's hard enough to convince people in America that education is important, that we need to pursue lifelong learning. And then you have these people doing this, which again I think just takes another brick out of the construction of our communities and society.
Well, the other thing that was brought up, and it's a valid point, is colleges have, let's say they admit 5,000 freshmen every beginning of every school year. Say 50 of those kids cheated. That's what 50 kids didn't get in.
Okay, now I heard people talk about that, and here's my thing. You didn't get into Harvard, okay, fine. Did you get in someplace? Go there. I doubt that you will find any person who didn't get in someplace. Okay, they bribed Georgetown, and 10 kids got into Georgetown. So let's say 10 other kids didn't get in Georgetown. Those 10 kids
They
got
got
in
in
someplace.
University of Maryland,
Yeah.
University of
So
Virginia.
Be quiet, get your education, and move forward, okay? Because unless you signed up next for Trump University, in that case, you need to sue a whole bunch of people.
Now,
Or DeVry University or any of these other fly-by-night for money colleges and education. If you signed up for one of those, then you need to sue somebody. But if you didn't get into Harvard, Yale, or Princeton, but you got into the University of Ohio, I don't mean Ohio State, I mean the University of Ohio.
right, because who would go to Ohio State?
or if you got into Rutgers, or heaven forbid, if you get into the University of Utah, well, shut up, suck it up, and make the best you can out of it.
Especially given the article that I read this week that said studies show it doesn't matter where you go to school.
Exactly.
It matters that you went to school and that you went through and you tried and you studied and you actually,
Yes.
applied yourself.
Yes.
But the kids who go to the University of, I guess we're going to say University of Rhode Island or Montana and study and apply themselves and do well are no worse than the people who go to Harvard or Yale and study and apply themselves. There's a prestige name, but as far as
it makes a difference for the first job you get.
Right, but as far as being prepared for the workforce, as far as being whether or not you're educated, it doesn't actually.
It does not matter.
Yeah.
Go to Kent State, and you'll be just as well educated.
Austin P University.
Well, okay, but at least they'll have a decent football team.
I don't know, but
Austin P. Do they have a football team?
Yes.
Yes, they do. What's their mascot?
I used to know that. Tell you as sad as that is, I used to know. I could. We can look it up, but anyway, okay.
So no, and I think you're absolutely right that nobody should be upset that I didn't get on this, I didn't get into this.
I didn't get into Harvard. I had to settle for Yale.
Yeah, well, good for you for settling. Princeton or whatever.
Wait, do people still go to Princeton? Is that a place? Is that a thing?
It is a great place.
No, you say that because it's in New Jersey. So is Rutgers. I think people would rather go to Rutgers than Princeton.
I wanted to go to Princeton. You know why? Because when I was in high school, we went to Princeton to see a play. We went to Princeton, and they hosted a bunch of high school kids, and we watched a Shakespeare play, and we walked around Princeton, and I thought, man, this place is cool. I would love to go to Princeton. But then you know what happened in my life? I got married, I had a kid. Oh, wait, we know who that is. And then the next thing you know, I couldn't afford to go to Princeton.
Don't blame me. I didn't ask for any of this. All right. We're starting to run out of time, and I know you want to talk about something. Well, I'm going to talk about real quick ICE.
Ice baby.
No.
Oh, no, not that.
No. Oh, man. I think I have to pay royalties now. No.
Ice baby. I'm sticking with that.
Yeah, it's a real song.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Customs. It is customs. So I was right. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Here's the problem. ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, ICE agents are
thugs.
Well, they're thugs, but they're going to local jails. People get arrested for
all kinds of things.
Whatever.
Picked up for lots of things.
DUI or jaywalking, whatever it is the local sheriff decides they want to arrest people for that day. I think in Arizona, if you try to vote and you're Hispanic, then they probably throw you in jail and then make you prove that you shouldn't be in jail.
Right.
I'm on an Arizona kick today.
Apparently so. If you're in Arizona, send your letters and tweets.
Well, Nick's in Arizona.
Nick's in Arizona.
So, ICE agents are going to the local jails and they're saying, "Oh, you have so and so in custody. They're illegal. We're going to take them and deport them." They need a warrant.
Yes, they do.
A warrant to
to arrest people.
Then take them into additional custody, I guess.
State custody is different.
Right, it's different.
Remember the
so they need. Well, they don't. They don't. Actually, they do. They know they need a warrant, and this is the problem.
Right.
Because the warrants have to be signed by a supervisor or a judge or somebody.
Right. Somebody with authority.
So these agents, just field agents with no authority, have been forging signatures.
Of course they have.
Have been doing it without warrants at all. Or some supervisors have been providing stacks of pre-signed blank ones that the field agencies just filled out whenever they want to willy-nilly and then take people into custody.
It makes it that much easier to
find
somebody's
you avoid the middleman at that point. It's, the middleman's there, but it's so much easier. If it's after hours or a weekend, you don't have to get somebody on the phone or, someone could be out fishing and you don't want to disturb their weekend.
Right, exactly.
Which actually was one of the times that the field agent forged a signature because this guy was going to be released from county jail. They wanted him. He's an illegal. They want to deport him. They can't get him because they can't reach the supervisor because he's out on a fishing boat. So he forged the signature and they arrested him and deported him. And the supervisor came back from his weekend fishing trip and went, "Oh, okay." Oh, okay.
Well, the rule of law is bendable, apparently.
It's pliable.
It's pliable, so you can bend it only so much before you break.
So we've talked before about ICE and their you talked about the brown shirts. They're more brown shirts. Gestapo rounding people up, and they're the SS. Anyway,
they round up American citizens.
Well, you know what they're doing? They're rounding up the undesirables to make the country safe for the people who are supposed to be here. The white people? Now, if that sounds familiar, then there you go.
This is where we're going with this.
We've said it before, but it doesn't. It sadly doesn't make it any less true now than it did then. Real quick, we're going to acknowledge the New Zealand shooting.
Yeah, we have to acknowledge the New Zealand shooting.
I didn't want to start with that because
But what I want to acknowledge it for is the person who committed the atrocity, who is a white nationalist, supremacist type person in New Zealand, and who points to
one Donald J. Trump as inspiration.
An inspiration for the white power.
Yeah, his rhetoric, his words, and the things that he says and does were some of his inspiration. And we've said it before. It's making people think that it's okay. These people used to hide in the shadows and used to keep to themselves because they knew that it wasn't socially acceptable. And now suddenly they think it is because no one's getting in the way and saying, no, this isn't okay.
You have somebody at the head of the country that used to be the leader in civil rights.
Used to be the leader in a lot of things, and we're going to get to that in just a second.
Look, is it true that there are abuses within the international community? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. I heard of one this week, which kind of made me not feel too good about it. As you know, we no longer participate in the UN Human Rights Council. We just simply walked away from that. While I decry that because we should be there and we should be advancing the cause of human rights across the world, I also heard today or this week that the Iranian ambassador has been made a member of the UN Council of Human Rights. This is a country that beats women if they don't wear a shawl. And
we should get the North Koreans and maybe the Saudis in there too.
Exactly. So are there abuses? Yes, there are abuses. There are abuses because everything in the human experience is fraught with failure and with peril. But that's not a reason to retract. It's a reason for participating so that you can have an influence, so that you can try to make things better. And so while it is ridiculous that the Iranians are going to chair the International Human Rights Council, it is also ridiculous that the United States would walk away from it because it doesn't like the fact that the Iranian is, because now you're not engaging with anybody and you're not teaching. You've given up the moral imperative, which is what the United States used to have in the international community.
So the guy in New Zealand shot up the mosque with assault rifle. The Prime Minister of New Zealand has called for and proposed a ban on assault rifles that fast.
That quickly. And by the way, they did it next door.
They did it in Australia. They did it in Australia. It wasn't popular and it cost that Prime Minister, it's a Prime Minister in New Zealand or in Australia or president. It cost him his position. He got voted out rather quickly the next election.
But you know what?
But you know what?
Shootings
It
in
stuck.
Australia
It-
went down 99%.
But it stuck.
Yes.
They didn't override or
Right, or
throw it out. He pushed it through
and
and
their
passed.
numbers now reflect
Yeah.
that they have a reasonable gun ownership policy.
Yeah. So the Prime Minister of New Zealand
She-
quickly,
yeah, it's a she.
Is it a she?
Woman. It's a woman.
but that quickly
Yes.
said,
Yes.
we're going to ban
We're
this.
gonna ban these.
And she's not really receiving any pushback
No, the
from it.
moral imperative when someone kills 49 people who are worshiping in their house of worship is that you do something about it.
So,
That's the moral imperative.
yeah.
You want to talk about Kant? You want to talk about the moral imperative? I don't like Kant, but if you want to hug Kant, and if you want to join him, then join the moral imperative. That when somebody shoots up a whole bunch of innocent people, you take the side of the innocents. Was that too loud?
No.
Okay.
Well, maybe. I don't know. She'll fix it. Okay. So we alluded, this time I did allude, to the U.S.'s dropping in
Yes.
international community standing.
Yes. What are you gonna
Shown one more time this week because there was a Boeing jet that went down.
Yes, there have been
two.
two, but that was the latest one. Yes.
Yes. The
Boeing.
black boxes were recovered
Yes, they were.
and they were sent to
France.
France,
Yes, thank you.
not the United States
No.
and the FAA, because the FAA doesn't have a.
First of all, the FAA doesn't have a chief.
There's no head of the-
There's
yeah.
no head of the FAA right now. Second of all, this administration doesn't believe in science. And thirdly, this administration would have lied to protect Boeing. Okay?
An American company.
An American company. What has normally happened to black boxes is if it was a European plane that went down, European manufactured plane, then
Airbus.
then the black box would be sent to them. If it was an American, Boeing, or McDonnell Douglas, then the black box would be sent to the United States. This time, they sent it to France.
Yes.
And they sent it to France because
We couldn't be trusted with it.
We could not be trusted with.
I laugh because it's sad.
Yes, it is very sad.
It's an uncomfortable laugh. They couldn't trust us with the black boxes to be able to analyze and honestly report what had happened.
Because our government lies about everything now.
It took a
Our
really
government
long
lies about everything.
took a really long time that Donald Trump did finally call for these planes to be grounded.
Which,
It took a long time.
How bad do I feel right now that I approve of something he did?
Well, yeah, he did it, but only after like every other country in the world said, yeah, you're not flying these things in our airspace.
Exactly.
They're not safe. And pilots have said, yeah, there's something weird with these things. We don't like flying them. But Boeing said, no, they're safe. And so Donald Trump, who's on the side of the big business, said, no, they're fine, until the pressure was a little too much.
Yeah.
Even he did bow to pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one more thing that, the United States can't really be trusted in is something that we used to be a world leader in.
No,
our people would be brought in even European crashes and stuff to help analyze
exactly.
and advise and lead
No,
lend our expertise. We don't have that anymore.
we don't have that. We don't have the trust factor, and it is amazing how quickly a nation falls. So here's the LDS thing here. In the Book of Mormon, we read about civilizations or societies that fall very quickly, and then it takes a long time to rebuild, and then they turn in a matter of
Well, think about how hard it is to climb a mountain and how easy it is to fall down the mountain.
right, and that's exactly
Going up is a lot harder than going down.
And people say, well, it's not realistic to think that in the space of 3 years, these people have thrown themselves completely out of civilization. No, it's exactly what's happening to the United States. And we're seeing another example of it here. I have another one that I'll throw in here. This week, our country announced that it would revoke not the passports, but the visas for people coming in to investigate war crimes. If you work for the Hague, if you work for the International Criminal Court, which, by the way, we created that whole system. The Nuremberg trials where, we were the ones that said, no, we need to try these people. Even the British, even Churchill said, let's just round up 100,000 Nazis and shoot them at dawn. And the Americans said, no, let's try them. Let's establish the rule of law and let's move forward. We created this system. This week we announced that if anybody from the Hague, from the International Criminal Court, came to the United States to investigate any allegation of war crime in which an American was somehow involved, even though they're not charged, even though they're not being prosecuted, we will revoke their visas so they cannot come into the United States and do their job.
Yeah.
We are destroying look, George W. Bush did a pretty good job of attacking the Constitution. If you remember torture and all that stuff.
Was it him?
It was him.
It was Cheney.
It was
Cheney's behind this. He's pulling the strings. Come on.
But George W. Bush was the head of the government, But then everybody knew that this was, and now we have this president that is actually destroying the very thing that we created.
Yeah.
And here's another example of it.
All right. We're going to end with, it's not good. It's not bad. It's bizarre. I have a bizarre thing.
Your bizarre thing. I'm trying to think of good news, and it's hard for me.
University of Tennessee.
University of
There you
Tennessee.
go.
There you go.
I was sent as a joke, but this is a real. It was ironically sent to me, but this is a real thing. It's a job posting on Indeed.com. Indeed. Indeed. I work in IT. This is a job posting for a director of IT security and compliance. You read the first paragraph and it's the director of IT. You're supposed to be responsible for development and implementation, enforcement, blah, blah, blah. You get to job qualifications and requirements.
Okay.
Character/spiritual exemplifies Ephesians 5:1-2, and then quotes Ephesians 5:1 and 2. Pursues the Great Commission given by Jesus Christ in Matthew 28:19 and 20, and then quotes Matthew 28:19 and 20. Is a consistent witness for Christ, maintains a courteous Christ-like attitude in dealing with people within and without of focus, adheres to the standard of moral conduct and statement of faith, upholds focus on the family's ministry and prayer, prays personally, engages in Christian ministry.
Is the employer going to ask?
Yes.
Is the employer going to check?
Yes.
So,
personal characteristics, positive and encouraging attitude with ability to motivate and encourage peers. That's normal. Demonstrates behaviors aligned with core values. Whose core values?
I don't know.
You're going to get asked. This is a job posting. Not for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't know. It wasn't told to me who this is for. It was sent to me, hey, maybe you should apply. And I said, you're joking, right? Yes, they were joking. But
well, I'm curious now because
if you're putting it,
if this is an employer,
like I said, it's not good. It's not bad. I find it bizarre.
It's very bizarre. If you are a church,
you can
do this.
Yes, the church all the time asks in their interviews, do you pay tithing?
Churches can do this because they're exempted. But if you're an employer, if you're an employer and you make widgets and you need a chief of IT who prays to Jesus, that is a violation of Title VII of the federal law.
If it's a privately held, if it's Hobby Lobby, or if it's
still a violation of Title VII. I mean, Hobby Lobby was exempted from the corporation having to do certain things.
Right.
But
Chick-fil-A, Hobby Lobby,
those things. But you're not exempt if you are in the public market square, unless you're a religious organization. You're not exempt from, because what's next? Next is, I only want white people who pray. Black people who pray need not apply because my God is a white God. Where does it end?
Right.
This is another example of this fraying.
Like I said, bizarre.
It is bizarre. Do we know where it is?
We know it's out of Colorado. There's some question about
whether it's a church or not.
A church. It's not a church. It is a.
It's an organization that
I bet you money. I know the name of it. I have to look them up. They may be like one of these PACs, one of these, Alliance for Christian Values,
sure.
And they're sponsoring.
Family,
they're sponsoring the TV ads you're going to see, for or against.
And those people may in fact be excluded. I don't know, but this is an interesting. It is pretty weird.
I don't want to go to a job interview and ask how often I pray.
I don't think it ought to be on the job interviews.
Anyway.
Which, and I'm not against prayer, but that's a little bit private, it seems to me.
You'd think so.
I would think so.
Anyway.
Well,
that was what I had to end with. It was completely weird, I know, but
yeah, that is really weird. So, is there anything going on that
March Madness?
March Madness is not quite there yet.
Yeah. Selection Sunday's tomorrow. What are you talking about? By the time people hear this, we will know the brackets, and if this comes out on Wednesday, games are tomorrow.
Games are tomorrow?
If this comes out on Wednesday and people are listening on Wednesday, games are tomorrow.
True.
So, March Madness.
Okay, well.
Which means I'm no good for anything Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
boy. Anyway, I guess I don't know.
If you're looking for me, I'll be at Buffalo Wild Wings during the day, and then I'll be at home in the evening.
watching basketball games. All right.
Anyway.
Do we have a bracket?
We know tomorrow. Tomorrow is Selection Sunday.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Brackets are tomorrow.
Because I remember brackets.
Yes. Brackets are tomorrow.
I'm not that adult yet.
Anyway, enjoy the good weather. The weather's getting warmer. It's getting nice. The motorcycle's been out.
Really?
Twice.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm excited.
How about that?
The motorcycle's been out of the garage. It's been brought back to life.
Well, all right, but, be careful. Wear a helmet because we here at Latter-day Left, we pay you for your brains and not your looks.
Well, for the amount of money I'm being paid, I will wear the helmet that often. All right. Thanks for listening. As always, if you want to be like Nick and you want us to talk about you or refer to you, or you want us to talk about something, send us an email, send us a message. It's latterdayleft@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Latter-day Left. You can tweet at us at Latter-day Left.
Have a good week.
Thanks. Bye.
This week's episode was produced and edited by Marlo Balmanno, and our theme music is a selection from Tate Peterson's Midday Blues. Don't forget, if you want to contact us, please email us at latterdayleft@gmail.com or find us on Facebook and Twitter.